Back to that Kevin Show with Kevin McCullough.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with us again tonight. Always special to have you with us on the weekend, and Kevin McCullough couldn't be happier than to have you here. I've been telling you for the last number of months about our very special campaign to end human slavery in our time. Human trafficking, of course, the big theme of the Sound of Freedom movie. Jim Caviezel speaking very articulate about that in the first hour tonight. And it really brings home the important and good work that you are doing. In fact, I'm a little bit blown away. We had, I think it was our biggest week of slave liberation yet since we started the campaign in February. And because of you, as you can see, we're at 93 human lives that have been liberated and rescued. And I just think that is an incredibly important note to bring to you. Again, over the years that we've done this together, there have been somewhere in the neighborhood of 3,500 human beings that we have helped liberate through the work of Christian Solidarity International and us working together. You, my viewers and listeners on radio and TV, and all of us pulling together. My family has, on more than one occasion, decided that we are going to free a slave every single month with CSI, and we've done that for a few years. But I would say all together, all told, all put together, all the people that have come together, we have it's in excess of 3,500 slaves over the last 10 years. And I just want to say thank you for that commitment to every single year help us see several hundred more become free. Now, where did these slaves come from? Well, if you're just joining us for the first time, there was a civil war in Sudan. There are still some factions that don't like the outcome there now. But out of that, two countries were created. South Sudan became the youngest country on the planet, and Sudan continues to exist. But in that war, like many wars, human beings were the prize. They were the spoils. And so the women, particularly young girls, were taken out of their homeland to the north, where the Arab Sudanese forced them to convert to Islam, some of them experiencing very harsh circumstances, well, all of them experiencing very harsh circumstances, but some of them brutally raped repeatedly over their time in captivity, their genitals mutilated, starved for the most part for all those years. They're often only given whatever the crumbs that are left over from the family, and that is very, very little when you're talking about a very difficult region to begin with. But these precious women and children have been also, over the last 15 years since the war has been over, first of all, their future was not determined when the world powers came together and ended the war. They ended the Civil War, but they did not do anything about the captivity and the women that had been enslaved. And so as a result, it has been the work of Christian Solidarity International and private groups that have gone in, negotiated freedom. And with CSI's case, we have seen over the course of those many years, nearly 135,000 slaves be liberated. Now, there are probably 35 to 40,000 left that we have not yet been able to liberate. Some of them, it's a difficulty finding them because they don't always look like slaves. If they're, in an impoverished area and they are already under difficult circumstances. But the Arab retrievers that CSI is working with goes and finds them. And when they do, we get their name, we know who the slave master is that they serve, and then we're able to negotiate their freedom. Where you and I come in, and this is really what's exciting, is that we get to give them everything they need for their new life. For one slave that is liberated, and it's a basic transaction of a cattle vaccine for a slave. This is how insignificant the life of the slave is to the slave master, that he would take a vaccine for his cattle in exchange for it. But when that transaction goes down, the slave is able to leave with the retriever to a recovery camp at the border of South Sudan. From there, they get medical treatment, they get some counseling help, they get some just freedom to be able to articulate what's happened to them. In many cases, they've not been allowed to speak on a daily basis to other human beings. And if they do, punishment awaits them. But in the recovery camp, they have counseling, they have medical care. Sometimes they need treatment for injuries or disease that may have gone undiagnosed or untreated as they were living in captivity. But once they are kind of on the mend and kind of in a place where they're more able to face the next layer of life, because it's a big shock. A lot of these girls were taken when they were just little, under age 10 even in some cases. But they tell their story to the CSI personnel. They figure out the region that they're from, and then the CSI folks help them get back to either family members or their original home areas as they are there. And that's significant because when the slave shows up in their hometown, it is a massive party. Think prodigal son story in the Bible, but like on speed. It's just really amazing. Now, in addition to that, they are given what's called a bag of hope, but it's so much more than just a bag. Let me tell you everything that's in it. A year's worth of sorghum grain for them to use as food to be able to feed themselves. Sorghum is the kind of grain of choice in that region, and it's very easy for them to use and cook, and they've likely done so in captivity on some level for their slave masters. So they have a year's worth of food. They have another year's worth of seed to plant to grow more sorghum. So they've got immediate food and they've got food in the future. They're given all kinds of utensils and tools and things that will help them against the weather and be able to sleep and be more comfortable, and towels and blankets and other things that they'll need. Then in addition to that, there are utensils for gardening, for fishing, for cooking. They'll need all of those things in supporting themselves. And there's other things included in that bag. And then not in the bag, but part of the bag is a she-goat that every one of them get, and they get to use that goat to make goat kids, goat cheese, goat milk, support themselves with a micro enterprise business, and be able to do it all to help themselves. Friends, that's what you give for $250 when you call right now. 888-342-1010, 888-342-1010, or just go online to bringherhome.org.
Ready or not, he'll be right back. That Kevin